This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first rifle or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Garth Over.
How we doing?
Tyler Brockle.
Word to your mother.
And a special guest tonight, because she was here when we started, my wife, Marnie.
Woo! Wow.
Hi.
We are so lucky.
Yes, indeed. So, as she stares daggers into the side of my face,
I'm not.
what have you guys been up to in the last week?
Well, I am still doing a gun of the month and just recently purchased one for March. I think I purchased two, but one doesn't count because it's not technically a gun. So I got a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 I'm super excited for. I just bought a mount for the sight for it. It cost me $120, so it better be worth it. But I am super excited about it.
Right on.
Yes. The foldy boy.
Yes. Actually, I showed a couple buddies. They're like, well, I didn't know guns could do that. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. They're like, yeah, that's a saddlebag gun. I'm like, yes, it is.
So it's still kind of funny to me because like almost a month ago, there was like a meme war that got started by Kel-Tec.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a meme of a kid in school looking at someone who blatantly copied his homework.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Kel-Tec looking at Smith & Wesson, because Smith & Wesson just came out with their, was it FPC?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a folding pistol carbine. But instead of folding over the top, that one folds to the side.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And I've shot the Sub 2000s before, and they throw powder like SOBs, but I bought it more as a joke to shoot at competition because I thought it'd be really funny to be running this, 33 round magazine out of the handguard, or not the handguard, the hand grip there. And I don't know, it's funny to me just to be obscene. Like the only thing that would have been better is I would have bought like a high point rifle, but I didn't want to go that far because then it's different mags. So
yeah,
sure.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Tyler, anything with you?
Yeah, actually, three-gun season is about upon us, except for maybe some of you lucky few who live down in warmer weather. But ours are coming up, and I was looking at my little arsenal, and I actually I do now, but I didn't have a 16-inch AR. So I built up a Havoc Engineering Group Elite rifle. So 16-inch, one of their ultra-light versions. And then I threw shout out to Tyler over at Swamp Fox. Him and I did some drug dealing, and he sent me a brand new 1x10 Arrowhead. And then one of their new Krakens. Yeah, there we go. Dooley's got an Arrowhead in the background. And one of their new Krakens with a 45-degree offset mount. And basically, it's going to be able to give me the range to really reach out there and touch somebody inappropriately. And then I've never had one of these 45-degree offsets before, so this will be the first time trying it. And playing around with it just in my office seems to work really well. Haven't actually got out and shot it yet, but I am looking forward to kind of that combination for a rifle that just absolutely fucks this summer.
Right on.
How about yourself?
Nothing really neat in the way of actual guns. I did not purchase any more firearms or even, I was going to go do a bunch of stuff, and then like weather happened here,
Yeah, like
And
16 is the snow weather.
yeah, that's what it was like. Hey, it's like 50-some degrees. This is awesome. Hey, we're going to dump like 16 inches of snow. And also, we're going to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, starting tonight. We're going to get 20. Me and Dude are scheduled for 25 inches of snow.
Jeez.
Allegedly.
Starting at midnight.
They've been pretty accurate about the last crap that's come through. So
Edgemont got 8 inches already today.
Really?
Well, that's what she
It
said.
makes it feel any better. Next Wednesday it'll be 75 degrees, so you want to fucking shovel.
And from Wyoming to Wall interstate is closed. So
yeah,
it's coming.
It's on the way. And yeah, it will melt next week, and then we're gonna have a year like 2019 when everything is flooded and farming is just gonna be a bear. So
but I did get 2 other things in that I was excited about. And these will kind of pair into to what we're talking about this week. But I got these, and
which makes great radio,
which is great for radio. Yes, this is Tigret, so it's Tigrett. They call them a walk fang cable, and what this is for like the Baofeng radios or a lot of the Tri-Radio, even the Motorola's, anything that uses, it's called a K-type connector. So it has 2 plugs that plug into the side. This little switch here that I have plugs into the side of the radio and plugs into the side of your radio and then runs up to any like Walker or Howard Light Ear Pro.
Interesting.
And it comes with an included clip-on push-to-talk that you can put wherever you want.
Ooh.
So it allows you to use your Walker or Howard Light Ear Pro for $40, like a $600 set of Peltors.
And how much was that cable?
$32.
Right on. You'll have to send me the link to that.
Mm.
What so like your Howard Light or your Walkers, like obviously I've seen the standard ones, I've seen the little like wireless clip-in comms, but do they make like headsets then that plug into your existing?
So any of the Howard Light or Walker electronic ear pro,
yeah,
if you look at any of the standard over-the-ear muffs, they all have like an auxiliary jack.
Yep.
That goes into them.
Yep.
So that plugs into the auxiliary jack.
Right. So you can hear, but how can people hear you talking? How do you get a boom mic on
you have that push to talk that has the microphone built into it.
Oh, okay.
So it has the push to talk, so you just put it somewhere on your kit where you can push down and talk into it. Gotcha. And it will clip to a t-shirt or like a combat shirt.
Right.
I have another setup that I've been playing with that actually adds a boom mic to my Howard Lights.
Sure.
And that's I'd have to look back and find it because it was like a odd, like Comms Distributed or something like that website that did some, like off-market stuff that they found. And it works really, really well. Actually, I had it with down there at RevTech.
Oh yeah, I didn't see it.
Well, the only time we pulled it out of my my kit was when we hooked up Tate's Discman.
Oh yeah.
So there he had the boom mic that went to his Discman.
Right on.
In his Discman holster on his battle belt.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend taking it to battle because everyone knows those things skip like a mother when you're moving remotely, But whatever. I mean, maybe you like listening to "Oops, again."
I mean, that that would have just been like driving down the gravel road when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I'd skip so bad on the washboards that you'd never really got through a full song.
No, never. Or it
But-
just froze out. It's so, oh yeah, love it.
Remix.
Remix. DJ Dooley in the house.
But no, so that actually kind of feeds in with something we were going to talk about tonight, because tonight's show is going to be a little bit different, and it's not just going to be like a strictly AR stuff. Although we could maybe talk about a training drill or something, like we could pull one up quick.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
But because that will also feed into what we were talking. Garth and I were talking, and well, Tyler was involved as well, just he was quiet. So, it was with all of the like onset blizzards and things that happen. Well, I guess we talk about rifles and stuff like that. We also talk a little bit about preparedness.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this boils over into, like how important is it to have with your rifle and stuff like that? Because, as I'm sure we can get into, is like, oh, how many mags or how much ammo do you have? And I find that people get uncomfortable when I answer that question truthfully. But,
well, I'm not truthful about it. I just say more than the average bear.
yes, it's. I like to say that it's good to buy mags in generational quantities.
Yep.
So that grandkids don't have to worry about mags.
Yeah.
But like just that little bit of preparedness, because it's much like training. A little bit can go a really long ways. And we definitely if the past 3 years have taught us nothing, it should teach us that everyone should be a little bit prepared.
Correct. You don't want to go without. I mean, you don't want to be the guy who's got 8 ARs and he's never went to a carbine class. I know we've mentioned that a time or two, but it's great if you have all the tools necessary. But if you're not training with them, you're just building a nice base camp for the next guy to come along.
I think that's called a loot box.
Loot drop.
Yes.
Loot, yeah.
You're just an awesome loot drop.
Yep, loot drop.
So while we're talking about that, I was just pulling up and I was reminded of one of my favorite drills. This is a great pistol drill, and you just put it out a little bit longer range and shoot it with a rifle. But it's a 3x5 challenge. So does everybody, 3x5, that obviously means it's going to be, I call them an index card. Is it?
Yes.
Is it,
Yep.
It's the only thing I know them as, is a 3x5 index card. And, 20 rounds for this, and you shoot it with a pistol at 5, 7, and 10 yards. And with a rifle, I say you do it at 15, 20, and 25 yards, because you have a little bit bigger. So you start with like a standard 8-inch target or, paper plate, and staple a 3x5 index card in the middle of it vertically. And, you present and fire 5 rounds. And you do it in under 5 seconds and then back up and do it again.
No reloads or anything like that?
Nope. It's just because you're focusing on a small target.
Okay.
Yep.
You're grouping.
Yep. Good grouping. Get all 5 shots in. Do it at a pace that you can do that in, and then step back and then repeat, and that timing will increase. And if you don't have an actual note card, you can just draw a 3x5 on a piece of paper with a marker. I think that's what they did at RevTech when we were there. It worked out pretty damn well. So
Just Sharpie it.
Yep, Sharpie it.
And this drill is on the Range Buddy app, so people can go ahead and download that app and challenge people from across the country.
Yeah. And so that is a handy little thing to have, but that's one of those drills where you can convert a lot of pistol drills into a carbine or rifle drill as well. You just add distance.
Absolutely.
And also remember that 5 seconds is a very long time.
It is. So in this drill, are they going to start from the holster position, or are they going to start from the low ready?
We're going to talk about it from a carbine.
Okay, well, still, sling or low ready.
Yeah. So
well, usually low ready, and then you get ready and you bring your
even if
weapon
it's
up and
slung,
then
you know,
fire.
it's even if it's slung in front of you, like it's one of those you'd start with it at like what I would call the interview position with a rifle, where it's going across your chest.
Okay.
So you still have to bring it up and snap into position.
It's not like you're standing and getting into the prone position to shoot. Because we have done that in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, it's a long time. Well, but hold your breath for 5 seconds. It's a lot longer than you think it is when you start actually holding it for, you know.
No, but this is before we go down that rabbit hole any further. That when I say 5 seconds is a long time, to present and fire 5 rounds, that's 1 shot per second, and that is in the time or so from now till the time I get done talking, you need to shoot 5 rounds, and that's now. So that's a fairly slow cadence. You can do really accurate and well thought out shots. And then, like Tyler said, after you do that, you get your never miss speed, as Pat McNamara says. And so it's okay. I have a never, like I can't fail pace. And then you start speeding up, because the difference between professionals and amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they get it wrong.
Till they can't get it wrong.
Well, no, it's backwards. Not from getting it wrong, because it's okay. Yep, this is the par time. Mm-hmm. So if you always do it in the par time, then you keep going up and speeding and accelerating until you fail.
So
and
you
then
do it
you work
4
back
seconds,
to keep going.
and then 3 seconds, and then 2 seconds until you can't do it. Just makes you better.
Perfect.
I got you. Captain. My captain.
You're a great American. We
Thanks,
appreciate you.
Or your first sergeant.
But anyways, so we were going to talk a little bit about preparedness. And sometimes it's being prepared for your range trip. Sometimes it's being prepared for other things, because we've all had that buddy who shows up and like doesn't have anything.
Whoa, don't be throwing my name around like that. Maybe like 5 years ago. Now.
No, it's, you know, there's a little bit of difference between just like being prepared and having that. And we're not saying everyone needs to like run out and buy a freeze dryer and have like racks of shelves all over their house.
Can I talk about what I did this last week and what I...
Sure.
I'm just... Everyone else got to. You just skipped right over me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So this last week, I did a home body workout. It's called shoveling your driveway because of the snow. And then because we were getting... for the abs, is that what you said? And then we were... you know, we have cows, so we were getting our calves ready. So we pitched hay for the calves in the barn, and then we also rolled some straw bales. Didn't roll in the hay. I rolled the hay, and then what else did I do? We insulated our garage some more. And then the things that I'm not buying. So I am going. This is kind of like a prep, not a prepper thing, but a minimalist thing. Is I chose again to not purchase things for myself, if that makes sense. Like if I don't absolutely have to have it, like I don't need to go out and buy like 8 coats or a coat because they're sufficient. So I'm using it more of if I can mend it or repair it, I'll do that. if does that make sense? Like some people don't understand this; they just go buy stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
No, I mean, and I think we agree with you. Like one of the great things to have is not just stuff, but the ability to
mend
fix
your
that stuff.
to
Yeah.
like
Learning skills.
yeah. So like I don't need to go and buy a whole bunch of new dress clothes or clothes because I have a closet full. So I kind of have a rule that I started that was one in, one out. So if you get a t-shirt, you put one out. But that's not really prepping, but it's keeping the stuff that you have. So
Well, and it's a good leeway into I think what I just said was, like I'm not a sewer, but I still have a small sewing kit. I have tools, whether it's
Right.
mechanic or gun tools or stuff to work on the car, stuff to work on the house, etc.
Right.
All of that stuff kind of goes into a prepared mindset on can you maintain the stuff once you actually have it? And if you are in a situation where you have to sustain yourself for an extended period, is that stuff actually going to last? Not
Right.
just the stuff you're maintaining, but also the tools.
Right.
You buy Harbor Freight stuff, and don't get me wrong, I've bought some okay Harbor Freight stuff, but I've also bought Harbor Freight stuff that has completely snapped off. So
it depends upon which version of Chinesium you get that day.
Yeah, pretty much.
So. Well, my main thought is, it's good to be prepared and it's good to know skills, but it's also good to have community because you know what? I might not be versed in every skill set I need to survive, but if I can bring something to the table in a small community, I know that the next guy can probably fulfill the things I cannot do. And so that's one of my biggest points in any preparedness situation is find yourself a great community and pool your resources if you can. So that's
right.
Yep.
Right.
Those balloon animal skills you have there, Garth, are going to come in real handy
for the kids. For the
you
kids.
don't want to know how I fill those things up. So
gross.
It's always for the children. And
that's so strong.
And no, but so like this, as I was saying, like nobody needs to go off the wall and start doing we need to be doing crazy prepper things. But it's more like do what you can. And this has a trickle down when you go, how does this affect with my rifle? We can circle this always back of, I remember a time, it was a wonderful time. It was the year 2019.
Yeah.
Just not that long ago. Even into like March and April of 2020. I remember I bought a pallet of 9mm.
Yes.
And I sold it for $200 a case of 1,000.
Oh.
And I was making money.
Does it make you sick?
And I had one of my wholesalers call me and be like, how much can you take? Because we have just like so much of this. And I was like, yeah, man, like I already kind of overbought what I thought I could. And if I would have like had a crystal ball, I would have taken a second mortgage and bought like a semi-load. Like just send it all here. And then I would have a different house.
Because you know who would have had to carry all that ammo in the house?
Yes. And as Aaron says, I never ran out of TP, and neither did we.
Me.
No. That was the first thing I did. I became Dominic Toretto, and I knocked over a couple Walmart trucks coming from town.
So, like, the crazy part, because I remember that weekend, and were you gone, or were you...
What?
Were you gone that weekend when I came home, and I was, like, coming home and, like, stressing because I had to homeschool and do my job at the same time. But, like, I was like, we need to go grocery shopping. And I had a cart full of groceries because it was actually, when I say that time of the month, we were out of groceries. And we go grocery shopping, like, once a month and buy things. And it was like, okay, we are legit out of milk and cereal. And because we only go, and then we, like, if we need to go once a week, it's usually milk, eggs, and cheese. But if we need everything else. So yeah, so it was just, I'm pushing this huge cart because it was stuff we use on a daily for a month at a time that we just had happened to run out of, and that was on our grocery list.
And as per
And I didn't
normal
pick up toilet paper. I picked up
with
sugar and flour. And
don't talk to me, talk in the mic.
Sorry.
And
I was
She's not
Radio.
talking with us. She's talking at you.
I know. And as per normal with almost every other event in my life, like major life
working.
events happen, I was off doing Army things.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, because I called you and told you to get home because the shit was getting
yeah,
real
they actually, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas when they shut down all DoD travel.
between Little Rock and Tennessee, right? Or Alabama.
Hey, also, it's you guys make sure to check out the Off-Road podcast. Aaron's going over because they have their show starting soon. We were on with them here about 2 years ago, and that was a solid time. We'll have to do that again.
Yep.
But if you want like trail and camping knowledge or just talk about vehicles, they're solid people over there. So
those guys live the proper lifestyle just because they pack everything in their vehicle when they go everywhere.
Well, you have to have dual or multiple use for your items, and that's what I was getting at.
Exactly.
Yep. And if you have to pack tools and know how to work on things, because if you don't, things break.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, before we went off, we went on a little bit of a diatribe there about like all the craziness that started at the beginning of the pandemic panic. And before that, it was no big deal to, if you're going to go to the range, pick up a box of ammo on your way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I know a lot of people who that's just how they operated. It's why would you buy ammo in big lots like that? Because I was like, well, I remember in 2013, the Sandy Hook deal. That was the last time we had an ammo scare.
Yep.
And I went, I'm not going to have that happen to me again.
Nope.
Yeah, but without putting my tinfoil hat on, it's crazy to look at just the reality of the world we live in now, with our gun rights being under attack yet again because of another shooting, and our government going the direction they are. And I'm not going to dive down that hole, but even if you look at the world right now, other countries are trying to bankrupt us because they are switching out of the US dollar and going in a different direction. And so in dire times, it's good to be prepared, whether that is prepping for food and storage and ammo and training with guns and knowing that you have a small community that you can gather into in times of need. And so we're not trying to scare anyone and freak anyone out and say things are going to, shit's going to hit the fan tomorrow. But we want our listeners to be aware that things aren't getting any better right now.
Yep. And you can't just focus on one area, right? So I get it. We're the AR-15 podcast, and we should say everybody go out, stock up on ARs. Not necessarily the case, right? You want to be pretty well-rounded, and you can be choosy on or selective on the level and the amount of money that you spend on various things. So, for instance, I've spent a lot of money on weapons and gear. I have chosen not to spend a whole hell of a lot of money on my communication equipment. Like right now, we're rocking Baofangs. They're a pretty inexpensive $30 radio, and I know you can get pretty crazy with different Harrises and whatnot. But I'm just dipping my toe into that area, and I just didn't want to go balls deep right away. So I take a little bit of risk there, but at least I have something, right? And same thing with the food, like food rations and whatnot. I have MREs. I haven't gone to the full extent of having an entire basement of freeze-dried rations. But what I do have is at least, in that closet back there, I got fillet knives and hunting knives and and tools that I can actually use to acquire
Meats.
Well, that's the great thing about living in the open ranges of South Dakota is there's always going to be some type of meat available.
Yep.
Long pig.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think we'd ever do that. For anyone who doesn't know, long pig is what well, it's actually a term that comes from the Papua New Guinea area, and the pygmies, that's what the cannibals called human, was long pig.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
What?
So gross, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Hey, just stuff I know. But like as we were talking about with the comm stuff, so pluck a radio off here. This is actually a Tradio, TID radio, and it's another version of one of the Baofangs, just with a different sticker on it. And it is important to note that what we were talking about is we're all GMRS licensed. We are not ham licensed.
Yes.
GMRS is super easy to get. It's like $10, and it's good for, or no, it's $70, good for 10 years, and it covers you and your entire family. And that is a little bit more powerful of a radio than like, I always call them a Motorola Talkabout, but it's the bubble pack radios you buy at like Tractor Supply or Walmart, the FRS.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So these have a little bit more range. You can get them, like our good friend Craig, our Pastor Craig has a 40-watt one in his vehicle, and like you can talk for several miles. And there's a practical application for this outside of like being prepared for when grids go down or comms do. Being in South Dakota, I'll talk about like the Sturgis rally when 600,000 people descend on a town of 6,000. The cell network is overloaded.
Oh, well, just recently, north side of Pier lost internet and phones. So, sorry, I'll look at the screen. So, talking to a friend today, their phone had cut out, but their business and north side of business, the internet and the a line was cut, so they didn't have internet or phones, and that was, north of Walmart.
Cell networks will fail if too many people are using them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can have that, and just times like that, it's handy to have a radio to talk to people. The other part of that is sometimes it's just handy if you're on the range, because we all carry around that computer in our pocket that has more computing power than we used to get to the moon. We have, so we constantly call back and forth. If you can just do a quick talk on a radio of like, hey, how's that target look? If you're out checking targets or hanging steel targets, especially if you're doing like some longer range shooting, or if you're working from one side of a bay to another. There's even times when running matches, it's handy to have, comms with the people in other bays of like, hey, we're going to come out. Is it clear?
I mean, you and I do have booming voices, but it is handy for those people who do not.
Or even when just like one squad on a bay is done and they're checking with another bay, hey, can you guys almost done? Should we start moving that way, etc. Just to minimize the congestion on a range.
Yes. So one, normalize comms. It's a good way to become more prepared.
Yes.
And again, these radios aren't very big. Like this is the Baofeng, and I am literally like holding it in my hand. It's
here. Let's put an average.
Let's
do an average size hand.
Nick's got bare hands, so
yeah, average size hand. Actually, I have probably smaller than normal, but
Yeah, it's like a 4-inch by 2-inch radio, and they're about the same size, but you get a solid 3-mile reach out of them.
Yeah, we've communicated through Peer before with them, and they're pretty clear. So So yeah, besides communication, what other skill set might someone want to have just to be a little bit more prepared?
Is it my turn now?
Sure.
I always say medical.
Yes, I am a big believer in having some sort of first aid kit put together in any vehicle I drive, as well as my home, because you never know what situation you might find yourself in. Medical gear is always a big plus. I am a huge fan of tourniquets and stop the bleed situation stuff. I'm not saying that's exactly what I'm going to find myself into, but it is good to have a well-versed medical kit.
And there's different levels of that too, right? I mean,
Yes.
anybody with kids normally has, a small boo-boo kit with Band-Aids and Neosporin and stuff like that. I know I have a small kit with like athletic tape and gauze and stuff for just going to the gym, moleskin, etc. But then, of course, when I go to the range, I also have a actually the Blue Force Gear micro trauma kit. I have tourniquets in different vehicles. I don't actually have like a large trauma kit, but you got little stuff all over the place. And again, at least it's something.
Yeah, actually, I found something really interesting the other day. I was watching the news, and the FDA just approved, which doesn't mean anything, but the FDA approved a over-the-counter Narcan drug that you can buy for $50 to $100. I'm not saying I need that in my medical kit, but I'd like to have that in there.
What's that called again? Does it start with an X?
I'm not sure what it was. They didn't go into great detail. They just said it was going to be available over the counter in the near future.
And is that the stuff that counteracts opioid overdoses?
Yes, it is. And as a first responder, I'd like to have that in my kit.
Yeah. I got a question for you, because one of the things, one of the things I really like about where we live, East River, South Dakota to about middle of Iowa, it's really nice that you can pretty much go into, like, I can walk out in the trees and the grass, and there is really nothing in there that can kill me, right? Don't have to look for snakes, scorpions, alligators. I mean, out where you're at, you have rattlesnakes, but not over here. And yeah.
You have a
So
jackalope.
I really like that about where I live. But one of the things that scares the shit out of me is snakes. Can regular civilians have like anti-venom? Like if you're out hiking in the boondocks, can you have anti-venom for the snakes or creatures in your area?
So can I have some nurse friends, and talking with that anti-venom, they try their hardest to not give that to people because you become immune to it right away. And so then they have to find another. So they try not to, like with their dogs or people. It's a very last resort.
And it's like $10,000.
Yeah.
Is it? Really?
It's
because they're literally milking the rattlesnake venom out of it. So yeah. So they try to do that as a last
little Geppetto into a little jar.
Just the teats on the rattlesnake?
Georgia rattlesnakes and crackheads. But no, so that is like having the Narcan. When they have that, it's if you've never seen someone get hit with Narcan, it is a sight to see. So if they're actually ODing and need like the Narcan to save their life, it's kind of a misconception on how it works, because everybody's like, oh, it immediately, bam,
no,
stop, or like it turns around the effects of opioids.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it instantly kills the high. So whatever high they were having, you just ended it quick, fast, and in a hurry. And they are generally violent because you messed up a really good time.
Yeah. They were with Alice in Wonderland, and then you just got pulled out of the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And now everything hurts and everything really sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, allegedly. I don't know. I've never had to be Narcaned. I may or may not have been in places where people have been Narcaned and seen some of that.
Yeah, it's just a thought. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just a great idea to have some sort of medical gear with you, and then of course we're going to preach it again. Go get trained on it because take a stop to bleed class. I think those are fantastic. They aren't an all-day deal, and just a little information, I mean, can go a long ways. I mean, some training is bad, but that's good, Thomas.
So, yes, training is great, and having medical training, even just like a basic first aid class, is awesome to have, and it's a great first step. CPR. I've long been an advocate of medical training because I'm a huge advocate of firearms training, and I am far more likely to come across a car accident where I need to render medical aid than I am to come across a situation where in a civilian role, I am required to grab my AR and go to work.
Correct.
And a lot of firearms companies out there also offer firearms first aid, tourniquets, packing bullet wounds, etc. And then I know, like, even just like at the I go to the local gym. Even the local gym has like CPR classes and stuff like that. So you might not necessarily be able to get it all in one area, but there are courses out there, and most of the time, some of them are even free, and a lot of them are not that expensive. I think the most expensive one I've ever come across was $100 for 8 hours worth of stop the bleed classes.
Well, even like going to preparedness, you know, send your kids, whether they're male or female, to the babysitting class. I think they can start taking that at like 10 or 11. But they do teach basic first aid, and it's someone teaching them how to do that. And so your kids could get a Band-Aid for somebody else. You don't think about that. You can teach them that young to do that, because Piper's probably, well, for 4-H, she got a purple ribbon for a first aid kit. And having, she went above and beyond. It didn't call for an ice pack, but she's like, well, it's my sports first aid kit. I need an ice pack. So, and rubber gloves and stuff. So she packed that on her own and got a couple purple ribbons for that. Just for things that she did. Emergency numbers are always nice to have as well. Teaching your kid 911 or your parents' phone number. That's always a good thing. There's something else I was talking. Oh, so with like the weather right now and being prepared. What? Am I too far away? Sorry. And being prepared. I wouldn't say I'm an overpacker, but I like to have if I'm traveling somewhere, I like to be like, put your snow boots in, put your snow pants in, make sure you have hat and gloves. I was brought up that way, like riding buses, and our buses have gotten stranded a couple times on winter days. Make sure you have all that, because if you do have to go in the ditch, or you have to,
It's called having the appropriate clothing for the environment you're in.
it is, but a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, well, it's 40 degrees right now.
That's
I went
because
to school
hose
in
don't
shorts.
get cold.
What? What did you say?
That's because hose don't get cold.
No, for example,
I went to the bar in college.
No, I know, but for example, just driving to work, and I drive by the high school, and how many kids I see wearing shorts to school, knowing there's a blizzard coming. Well, what if they get stranded and all they have is shorts now and tennis shoes?
Well, you know what else is coming?
What?
VZ grips. The unique feature of VZ grips is that they're machined from a solid block of G10. G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when covered with mud, blood, or sweat. The 17-degree grip angle and wide variety of textures, from mild to extreme. Many color options as well as shorties are available. 1911 grips, Beretta grips, revolver grips, extreme customizability, standard and slim palm swills, stub notches, safety cuts, bottom profiles, and more. More than 25 textures and 27 colors are available. there's one coupon code that is good for 15% off all handgun and rifle grips, and that code is AR-15 pod.
Yeah.
It was an excellent segue.
It was.
I'm really good at that.
You are fantastic, man. You are just above and beyond. But here's the other thing about if we're going to talk about preparedness. The one thing I really want everyone to have. I want everyone to have some body armor, Dooley.
Oh, body armor? You mean something like Predator armor? Do you want to keep you and your loved ones safe in these uncertain times? Are you looking for a full kit setup or just to upgrade what you already have? Then you need to look at Predator armor. Quality American-made armor and accessories, not some cheap junk from across the Pacific. From lightweight, flexible backpack armor to full plate carriers with plates, IFAX packed so you can plug those holes, Predator armor has it all. Use code AR15-10 for 10% off.
And I think everyone should really invest in at least one set, plate kit because the world is uncertain and it's just a nice add-on to have.
Yep. And again, you don't have to get absolutely crazy on it. You can pick up decent like plate carriers anywhere between 80 to $100. Now, where I don't necessarily think you want to go cheap on is the armor itself. Get something that, is comfortable for you. Do some research, figure out what level of body armor you need and what type of plates you want, what type of cut you want on the plates. That's a whole very specific rabbit hole that we don't necessarily need to go down. But all I'm saying is do some research on that. I recommend quality plates at a minimum.
And for the love of God, don't go and get soft body armor. You don't want to be John Wick because unlike the movie, I guarantee if you take a couple shots to the chest wearing soft body armor, you are not getting up like he does.
Well, most of the time, soft body armor doesn't stop 5.56. Like it'll stop 9, but you really need plates. And I know there are a couple of companies out there that claim it, and maybe they do, but at the end of the day, you want to stop 5.56 or 7.62 by 39, you're going to need something more than soft body armor.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't want to get punched in the gut, let alone get shot with a 9mm in the gut wearing that crap. So,
yeah, the latest John Wick movie, they really pushed that hard, where they constantly were like using their bulletproof suits.
Yeah, it was
I
a
haven't
little
seen
much.
it yet.
It's cool. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, really neat stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it was over the top.
But anyway, as we keep going here, there are two other things. Like Tyler talked a little bit about food and having some MREs or some extra dry goods. Like I used to always say, like, buy an extra can of beans when you go to the grocery store. Looks like Garth died on us, but he'll be back. That might even be like something as simple as grabbing a case of ramen.
Oh yeah.
And even just that like little bit of having a case of ramen with, it might not be ideal, but it's something.
Shit, I see you can get 5-gallon buckets of ramen now. I even that was at Shields the other day. I'm like, I kind of wanted it just for when I was just on the weekend when my wife isn't around to make me stuff.
That would push me over the edge. I think I'd have a heart attack.
You and I both.
But yeah,
I don't eat ramen.
So David said, if I'm thinking of a go bag, like a bug out bag, should it have armor built in? And I know that they do make, like, there's a couple of backpacks that have the and you whip the armor, like,
and knock yourself out as you come over the top.
Oh, if you have like a hard steel plate, perhaps.
Yeah.
Having a, I know that you said don't buy soft armor, but like the soft backpack armor, Tyler, you can speak to this. You have a armor panel.
You grab it.
And it's one of those where you can, if you're worried about, like protecting your vitals from things in front of you,
Mm.
If you have that, then just like Tyler did, you throw it on the front of you, and now
Yep.
you have everything covered. Your vitals are covered.
Yeah, and this backpack's it's a 511 backpack, but it's not it's really not a tactical looking one in the sense that it doesn't have a bunch of Molly and stuff. I wanted more of a low key, but this has just got a Predator Armor soft, one of their soft backpack armor plates in here. I guess my thought is depends what you're doing, right? So, like if I'm bugging out, I'm probably taking my body armor with me, so I don't necessarily need it in a backpack. This is more for of a low profile, just have some extra stuff with me out in general public. Doesn't necessarily scream tactical. I think it
Well,
just kind
and
of depends on your situation.
How heavy is that, Tyler?
Well, it's got an MP5 in it, so it's
Well, just
a few pounds right now.
just the armor alone, or just the
Well, the armor's nothing. It's very light.
well, because you think of like tactical vests for the adults, but what about for your children? I mean, that's a backpack you could throw on with some food and essentials for them
Yeah,
that
well,
they
like
could carry.
this is normally my just like I got stuff for the dog. I got a collapsible water
Right.
bowl, doggy
Yeah.
bag. I got wet wipes for the kids. So this is just general stuff. And of course, then I put a helmet carrier in this one, but that's more for to stuff the dude's coat in when he doesn't want to carry it around the mall anymore.
Right. Oh, it's 1.4 pounds. I mean, so that's light enough for your kids to carry around.
yeah,
I
1.4
mean,
pounds is
So here's the
yeah.
armor plate. It
That-
weighs absolutely
It
nothing.
says it's 1.4 pounds. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, that's something that's safe for your kid to take to school. I
Yeah.
mean, or out and about with you.
we're not going to say take your kid to school.
No. But but it's something that if you have that threat, that's something you
The
can
other
have for your
part of
kid.
that is when we talk about like a go bag or a bug out bag, there are many people in the world who might not live a lifestyle such as the three of us do, where like I've made a joke before, like I have my, like, this is my good body armor. I have my bedside, my Sunday go to meeting body armor type thing where I make jokes about that. But
Mhm.
having a lot of people only have one plate carrier, and they might not keep it in their vehicle with them.
Well, it's true. Just what you said there. I mean, 5-10 years ago, I would have looked at people kind of insanely, and now it's just become a way of life. And so when we talk about these topics, I'm just like, well, yeah, that's just how we roll. So
Yeah.
I got to remind myself a lot that some people who are listening even might go, okay, these guys are a little much, but
Yeah,
I'd rather be a little much than
So extra.
no, but that's where having that backpack armor might be like, especially if you're, so let's say you work in an office building, like, if that's where your everyday job is,
Mhm.
having that backpack armor or something like that, that's a solid, like, okay, this is my get home bag because I'm
Mhm.
going to get to where,
Hmm.
like I have a backpack that I carry with me every day. It's my lunchbox pretty much. I have phone cords. I have I carry an IFAC and some other medical stuff with it. I handful of other things. And what is it? Oh, this is just what I have for what I need throughout the day.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And if I was somewhere where it was a non-permissive environment, I could still have that bag and everything in it. But you could also have that soft armor because it's not going to set off metal detectors. It's not going to do all these things, and you're okay to have it, and you're not a crazy person for wanting to feel protected.
No, not at all. And I remember there was a video I watched. I think it was pretty sure it was Grand Thumbs, right? So there's been a lot of reviews, not a lot of reviews, but a lot of people talking like, well, what do we put in our bug out bag? What size of bug out bag we need? And Grantham did a pretty interesting video where he's like, well, hold on a second. It's situational dependent, where you're at, where you're trying to get to. So, for example, to your point, Dooley, you might have a bug out bag that just gets you from your place of work or where you're at normally to your home. What Grantham was saying, maybe bugging out's not necessarily the best thing.
Yeah.
If you're in downtown Chicago, probably the best thing. But like for us, I have everything in my house. I absolutely should not bug out. I got all my food here, my processing stuff here, my weapons, you name it.
So I call it a get home bag.
Right. Yeah, no, and I'm just reiterating that point. That's a very valid thing. Everybody kind of gets well, what do I do with my butt? Or we want a bug out bag, which is great, right? But I think there's different types. There's not just a grab it and go. It's grab it and go. And then what? Are you surviving 2 days, a week? Are you like getting out the path of a hurricane temporarily, coming back? Are you basically, this is what I need to live off the grid and, for years, etc.
So you mentioned like getting out of the way of a hurricane or like natural disasters and floods. One of the other things, and I know it's something we haven't talked about, but like it's in Metzlaw's hierarchy of needs. It's a pyramid. If anybody's ever looked at it, it has like all of the things you need. And we've kind of covered two of them because we talked about like having appropriate like clothing and
food. But we haven't covered shelter.
Well, we have because that's clothing. And also a good med kit, in my mind, should always have like a Mylar space blanket because hypothermia is a medical condition which needs to be handled. So like there's cheap bivy sacks that are good for that. But water, like you need water. And Sawyer mini filters or a Life Straw, something along that line. They're cheap. They're like $20. And you have that right there. It's just this little, it's nothing. And it's super easy to have, and you can fill.
Maybe to the Life Straw, you got all that stuff right back there too.
Yep, but like it's so I like the Sawyer mini filters just because they have a water bag that you can push through into a bottle.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I have in my house, and it's just something I really like. It's called a water bob.
Yep, for the bathtub.
Oh.
Yep. It will hold 100 gallons of water, so you can cook and do whatever you need to with it in the event of any disaster.
Well, and some people don't think about that. So I like to can, and someone brought to my attention, like, well, why don't you just fill your canning jars with water? Because it doesn't need to be sealed, and then as you use them, so all our empty jars are full of water, so we'll have pints of water already. And I'm like, that's a great idea.
Also, a fun fact for anyone who wasn't aware of it: the best source of clean water in your home in the event of a disaster is actually your toilet.
If you don't add chemicals to it.
Yes.
In the tank.
The tank on top of the toilet. Because you generally have like a 2 to 3 gallon reservoir up there. And as long as you don't drop the blue puck in it.
Or the Clorox tabs, yep.
Then that is a 2 to 3 gallon source of water. But also, part of the reason why water bobs are for the bathtub is so you can continue to operate your toilet.
Yes.
Because if after you flushed it, you're out of that 2 to 3 gallons of water that you had stored there, and somebody's got to do a number 2, well, then you just start pumping that up till the water level gets high enough, and then it will siphon it down and flush the toilet.
Interesting.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's been toilet talk. But no, it's as we move closer here, it's like Garth was saying, it's not something of, oh man, we have to have that. And yep. Well, good on you, David, for having all those people there. And it is very important to have, clean water, clean, so that's where like I say, a filter comes in. Having just a little bit of extra food on hand.
Mm-hmm.
Even the government is now saying that you should have at least 3 weeks of food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the government starts telling you things that you need that are essential, oh shit.
Like I have never been one to be told that I do things like in an extreme version of it. So if they say 3 weeks, I'm gonna want 3 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think because of where we've grown up, like we're natural. I wouldn't say like prepping. We're not prepping, but we're natural. Garth,
We're more aware of it.
you're 30 miles from us. So if your grocery store is gone or out of something, where do you go next? You have to travel 30 miles,
Yep.
stuff like that. So I think some of us, it's not, we're, we buy the stuff or have it ready because the blizzards, you can't get out of your house for a couple of days or something. So I think it's, I don't know. We're being prepared, but
well, as we move on here, that's been a pretty solid discussion on like just a little bit of prepping or preparedness rather. So it's like get some of the basics. It's not expensive to start, and being prepared's well, there's always a small first step. It's never too late to start, and even if it is just like picking up that case of ramen because that's what you can afford.
Mm-hmm.
Having that extra bit sitting there, and then $20 for a life straw. Pick up one of them, and then just like do it slowly over time. Buy magazines in generational quantities, and make sure that you have like shelter and clothing and things for kind of all conditions.
Yep, just be well rounded. Be well rounded.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So say be well rounded in the gear you have, and also the training that you have as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a bush like like a bushmaster by any means, right? But I can start a fire without the use of lighter or an accelerant.
Just be skilled in what you have.
Yep.
Yeah. And you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive thing either. Start small. I mean, like
a Baofeng radio.
Yeah.
And also get out and train with the gear you have.
Mm-hmm. Make sure you know how to use it.
Well, that's one where even Garth can say that when we took our first class, where the first day he was wearing a plate carrier for a lot of the time. He was like, "Oh yeah," it's like we gotta adjust some straps and change things up because I thought this thing was fitted. And you go, no, it gets uncomfortable over time, and some of that's just like finding out how your gear runs. It's like buying a cheap weapons light. You might quickly find out how that wish.com light works out for you. But so Tyler, Garth, anything to add? I know Marnie's already been talking.
Nope, I said my piece.
I have as well. It's been a great topic of conversation, and by all means, we're not saying anything bad's coming down the pike, but you never know, so just be prepared.
Any last words of wisdoms from my beautiful wife?
Oh, she's gonna say something. That's gonna be off air.
Whatever. You guys are so mean. No, I don't have anything. I guess I would say it more for like, we have this weather coming. Be prepared for that.
Tornadoes, hurricanes, snowstorms.
Just the normal daily stuff that you don't know is going to happen. Be prepared for that.
Don't be a victim.
Yeah.
And so with that, you folks out there, you stay safe and stay armed. want to support the show? Subscribe and interact on social media. AR-15 Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. AR-15 Podcast on Facebook. AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com if you just want to drop us a line. Find us online at firearmsradio.net. Click through our sponsors and support the people who support our show. Primary Arms, VZ Grips, Predator Armor, TacPack, and Patriot Patch Company.